We're joined now by the Chicago Sun-Times Springfield Bureau Chief Dave McKinney. Dave, a lot on the agenda. Tell us about the tone of things at the Capitol today.
Well, it was very busy here, Phil. A lot of paper moving back and forth between the two chambers. We saw, a lot of activity on the budget. The House passed a spending plan that was about $35.3 billion, we believe. It's still under negotiations with the Senate. We expect action on that later this week. We saw this litany of things from the Lincoln Library takeover bill that Mike Madigan has on a fast track to the cupcake bill. There seems to be just an intent on getting this stuff all done by Friday.
Okay, let's go through them maybe one at a time. But Speaker Madigan indicated that income tax extension is dead, at least for this session?
Yeah, he said for the spring. He told us that yesterday during a Memorial Day session. The bills that passed today, there were 5 of them that passed, were based on an assumption that that was not going to be part of it. Now, late tonight, there was a motion on each of these bills that Madigan applied to them that puts them in hold in the House. So they're not moving over to the Senate tonight. That just means that I think they're going to do more negotiating with the Senate on those.
And as far as the state budget, where do things stand? It's being characterized by some as a middle-of-the-road budget. How do you describe it?
Yeah, it's sort of like the Goldilocks, not too big, not too little type of budget. I mean, it basically is kind of a hybrid of what we saw pass, initially a couple of weeks ago. It was a $38 billion spending plan that passed, but there was really no way to fund that. And then last week we saw a doomsday budget fail miserably. And so what we're seeing today is really kind of something in the middle of all that. And, it's keeping school funding fairly flat. I mean, there's a slight increase, but it's fairly flat. Overall, we think this is probably going to be what winds up going to the governor's desk.
Republicans are not happy with this budget proposal. Why not?
Well, because you see this year in, year out here. I mean, the minority party always gets this gigantic budget package thrown on their desks an hour before a vote. And of course, that happened again today, and there was a lot of confusion on the floor about, how big is the bill, what does it include, and at least, there's going to be probably 2 or 3 more days of time for, at least on the Senate side, to go through this with a fine-tooth comb by the Republicans and see what's in it.
Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle's pension reform plan got some pretty fast attention. What happened?
Well, that bill was also on a fast track in the Senate. It came through committee. President Preckwinkle was in the Senate Executive Committee today. It moved to the floor and passed the Senate. Now it's in the House. During the committee, Preckwinkle was asked by some of the Republicans about how are you going to pay for this? Because in the next fiscal year, there's going to be a $145 million payment due the county, and it's not clear entirely how the county is going to do it. She was asked, is it going to be a property tax increase or a sales tax increase? And her answer was, look, I haven't done that in the past, so stay tuned. So it's over to the House right now.
Speaker Madigan is also proposing that the Lincoln Library have its own agency. What's going on with that?
Well, that appeared out of nowhere. He filed it on Friday of last week, and it got through House committee yesterday and to the floor today, and it barreled through really with very little opposition from Republicans. I'm not convinced entirely that the Republicans and anybody on the floor knew fully what they were voting on. It's estimated to cost about $2.5 million to set up a separate agency to run the Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, which has seen more than about 3 million visitors since it opened in 2005. I think the bottom line here is that there seems to be some kind of a personality clash between the executive director of the library and museum and the current head of the State Historic Preservation Agency, which runs the museum now.
I see. Let's get to the issue of the cupcakes. What happened with the cupcakes?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're dealing with all these weighty issues, and this one comes out of nowhere as well. There was a 12-year-old girl in downstate Troy, Illinois, outside of St. Louis, who is a prolific cupcake baker. And the county health department in her town came and said, look, you've got to, we don't know about your sanitation standards in your kitchen. You've got to do all this training and everything. And so they shut her down. And that created a bit of outrage here at the Capitol. And there was a bill that passed the House that would have only allowed, the threat of a food sickness or anything like that for the county to swoop in. There were amendments that were attached to this bill today that required all kinds of training, 8 hours of training for this kid, and everybody said that's ridiculous. So in a second vote, they changed their minds, and the Senate lets this little girl stay in business.
Well, good news for cupcake makers and also probably for lemonade stand
Exactly.
entrepreneurs as well. Dave, you went into darkness there, but thank you for shedding light on what happened in Springfield.
Okay.
Oh, there you
Thanks
are
much.
again.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yeah, take care.